is how quickly you're able to do this, or how much in real time you're able to do this, stepping back, stepping forward. At a convention, it's actually fairly advanced to be able to do it all. And where people start out is, say, at the end of the day, you reflect back and you're like, okay, I had these goals to be a good person that I set at the last week, and I want to evaluate myself against the goal, and so I look at, well, I did this, this, and this, that wasn't so good, I did this, this, and this, and that was better. And so it starts out with a lot of time, like a day or a week or a year, and then as you develop, you get better and better at doing it. Right now, in the moment, I'm speaking, and I see you, and I see you look away, and I'm just like, okay, what about my behavior caused her to look away, or what's going on over here? And I'm adapting and changing and making a really way too long sentence and talking too fast, and so I should slow down because I can see people are starting to get stressed out, and so I'm adapting in real time. Awareness, action, awareness, action, awareness, action, every moment, as much as possible. That's the heart ability of leadership agility. So there's 4 competency areas, and we're going to briefly go through these right now. And these, you can learn lots more about these from this book, from the book called Leadership Agility. So the first one is self-leadership agility. So stepping back. So right now, you can do this. Even though you're sitting, that's still a behavior. You're moving, you're not moving. Just witness right now your physical behavior. And notice the physical behavior of the people around you. Even if it's not much. Just little eye movements. You can feel you breathing. Now, see if you feel any emotions right now, or any feelings, including just a peacefulness, or whatever you feel, just notice that. And then try to intuit the place that you're resting right now, or the place you're acting from, the place that you're sitting in. This one's a little harder and actually relies each of these successive 3 steps. Physical, or this is gross. Subtle, more subtle, and starting to be causal. And so actually being able to do this relies upon state stages and structure stages. This also maps to, for those of you that know, Bill Torbert's work on single, double, and triple loop learning. Single loop learning involves being flexible and adaptive on the level of your physical behavior. So, for example, I see that you can't hear me because I'm standing too far away, and so I move closer so that people can hear me. So I just did single loop learning. Double loop learning is where you are observing and reflecting on the level of both gross and subtle. So you're watching, I'm watching my behavior, I'm like moving my hands too much, so I do some single loop learning and stop that. Double loop learning is maybe I notice, I'm a bit more agitated than is productive right now because I'm going through a lot of material, and if I'm agitated, I'm going to be giving a transmission or a feeling in the room of agitatedness. And so actually it would be more effective if I calm myself down and change the feeling that I'm in right now. And then that changes subtle things about my behaviors, and then that changes the situation, which I'm pointing up here because that's where Bill Torbert puts the situation. So single loop is the situation, physical. Double loop is including both. And then triple loop is including all 3 of these. So I'm observing my way of being, my feelings, emotions, deep mood, and then my behaviors, and I'm saying, okay, there's different ways to interpret this bottom one, but a simple way is, is the intention that I have right now, is that working for this moment? Or do I need to shift my attention? And in shifting my attention, so do I need to do a triple loop learning? Or do I just need to shift the way I'm feeling or my behaviors? So you're always, this is what I'm trying to explain is, or what I'm ending up explaining is magician consciousness or turquoise, or part of it, is where you're constantly watching on these three different levels, and you're saying, do I need to change my way of being right now, my way of thinking or feeling right now, my behaviors right now, witnessing embodiment, looping on all these three levels. And then, of course, the point of being aware is so that you have more choice. The point of all this is more freedom and more fullness in our lives. So by being aware of these three levels, we have more freedom, we have more choice. We can choose if I'm going to stop waving my arm because it's distracting people. And then more fullness to really step into the moment and be in life.
Jesse?
Yes.
You said before about kind of projecting some sort of, having some sort of ego base in when you're speaking with people that are on different levels. But isn't part of the magician consciousness to adapt your way of communicating to people that are at different levels so that they understand you more effectively?
Absolutely. But there's a big difference between doing that and doing it while simultaneously thinking that this person's better or worse than you. So, yeah. So, this bear, I just want to tell you about him.
What's his name?
He was just in a fight with his friend, and he was just walking along like a bear, and he met his friend who he really likes, and he ended up getting really agitated and worked up and coming up on his hind legs and swatting at his friend. That's his behavior, and he was feeling really angry and upset, and his intention in that moment was just to kill his friend and beat his friend to win. And then after it all calmed down, he went back to sit on the rock to reflect and to use some self-leadership agility to think about, okay, what was my behaviors there? I was a little bit aggressive, I was pretty aggressive, and what was I feeling? I was feeling angry, and why was I feeling angry? Oh, it was because he brought up that thing and it reminded me of something I did 3 years ago that I'm still ashamed of. And so he's sitting on the rock and reflecting, just like we can, in all of the conflicts in our life. And ideally, closer and closer to the moment, so that as we start to get angry, or as we start to paw away our friend, we see what we're doing, and we experiment with different behaviors, we witness our way of feeling, and see if we can change our way of feeling if it's appropriate, and we see the place we're coming from in ourselves or the intentions we have, and we can change them in real time, so we don't end up like him, sitting on the rock afterwards. Although this is also better than, he's learning from experience, so he's much better than nothing. So that's the first one, self-leadership agility. Yeah.
And Jesse, how does that fit with giving yourself permission and space to really express those feelings if you're feeling angry or agitated at something? Obviously you don't want to bury it down so that it shows up later.
Yeah, I totally resonate with the question. Barrett talks about polarity management, and this is part of what later action logics do, is they don't say, for example, expressing yourself is right and not expressing yourself is wrong. That's a more earlier way of thinking. But polarity management would say, okay, on one hand, I don't want to repress myself, and I do need to express what I'm feeling. But on the other hand, what's the effect on them? And is this working? Is it going to serve them or not? Or does it really serve the larger situation? Does it, in the long term, is it the right thing to do? And so you're aware of these different factors, and you're actually managing the polarity so that you're trying to get the best of both worlds, or the best of many worlds. It doesn't have to be just two.